Good morning and welcome to my blog, Wisdom for Today. And I'm so glad that you decided to spend just a little bit of time so we can discuss the scriptures and what God's influence is on our lives. Today I want to talk to you about that feeling that we have when we feel like we have a blackout with God. Did many of you see the eclipse yesterday? I have to admit, it wasn't much of an affair at my house. Yes, the birds stopped singing for a few minutes. The sky got dark, but like it was dusk, and the atmosphere got colder, and my cat got a little nervous. But soon enough, the sun came out, the birds started to sing again and fly off the trees, and everything was normal. But I have to say, I watched it on the news, and people who were in direct path of that eclipse, where the world went, their particular world went completely black. It was quite a different affair. They described with awe and wonder how they felt this great shadow fall upon them. And even though they were expecting it, they felt a little disconcerted as the atmosphere around them got colder, and a lot relieved when they saw the sun again. Now, civilization has known about eclipses and what causes them since the Egyptian times and ancient Greece. But during the Middle Ages, what we call the Dark Ages, people became less literate and some scientific knowledge was lost. And people started to think of eclipses in a more superstitious light, as if God was going to judge them or they lost the favor of God. So when I heard that on the news, I kind of thought to myself, nothing is new under the sun. People recycle old ideas. But the idea offends me because it gives the idea that we can earn God's favor. And God wins us by his love, not necessarily his judgment. But indeed, when we look in the scriptures, people feel far away from God. And they often talk about God being far off. And I get the metaphor, something coming between you and the sun of God, makes your world feel dark and cold. But just because you feel dark and cold, as I talked about in my Easter sermon, doesn't mean that God isn't right there. I want to read to you a few prayers that people prayed in the Bible where they felt away from God. The first one is from Psalms 90:13, where it says Moses cried out to God, "How long before you help us?" And then David cries out to God, "How long will it be before you help me?" That's in Psalms 35:17. And then Isaiah cries out to God, "How long before you deliver us?" That's Isaiah 6:11. And then Habakkuk cries out to God, "Oh, how long, O Lord, before you help me?" Did you notice the theme in all of it? They are all waiting for God to deliver his promise on their timetables. How long? How long? As if they could put God's rescue in their diary, in their schedule. If they could make it fit into their agenda and what they had planned. But God is not on our same time schedule. He does deliver us, and all those people who I talked about were delivered from the pain they were in. But realize that it took some time. Abraham was promised a son, and it was 25 years before he was delivered a son. Joseph was promised from God that he'd be a great ruler, yet it was 15 years before he would go step into that role. David was anointed by the prophet Samuel to be the next king of Israel. But David spent a lot of his life running from Saul because of Saul's jealousy, and it would be 7 years before he would ascend to the crown. In 2 Peter, there's this great Bible verse. It says this, 2 Peter 3:8-9. With the Lord, one day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is like a day. The Lord is not slow about his promise, as some count slowness. The Lord isn't slow about his promise, as some count slowness. If you're going through something crucial and painful where you have a timetable, I understand the anxiety. And let me tell you, I've been there. But during that time, and some of those times, it's taken me years to understand God's plan. But let me mention just a few reasons why you might feel like God's not answering your prayer right now, or like you've been blocked out from His presence, like that moon blocked out the sun. Sometimes it's to give glory to God. Mary asked Jesus when He comes to raise Lazarus, "Why didn't you come sooner?" And in John 11:40, Jesus said, even as He weeps for Lazarus, it was to give greater glory to God. Sometimes it strengthens our faith. In the book of Romans 3, it tells us that God was testing Abraham's faith, and that's why it took him so long to deliver a son. Sometimes it's to mature our character. In James 1:2-4, it tells us that trials come about, and God uses them to test our character so that we may be patient and that we may persevere. And sometimes it's to increase our eternal reward. And that's found in Romans 8:18, that tells us that the sufferings of this present time isn't worth the reward that we'll receive. And sometimes it's because sin is in the world. And it tells us in Romans 6 that the whole world groans for its redemption. It's nothing you did wrong, it's just that sin is in the world. The great metaphor of the eclipse was this, that there was a moment of excitement, and then it led to a little bit of fear, and then people saw the sun again and were relieved. I promise you, if you're going through a season of darkness, it won't last. It's just a season. And after this season, just as our winter is melting away into our beautiful spring, you'll feel God's warmth in your life and on your face. I pray you have a good day today, and I pray that you will be able to go out and feel God's love and grace in your life. And I hope to see you in church this Sunday. God's blessings, and have a good day.